Yet another, the Ron and Reggie podcast. What brought you to Los Angeles?
Hollywood.
To do?
Acting.
You were going to be a star.
Isn't that what this is supposed to make me?
This is it right here.
Hello, Evolution family and the rest of the world. This is Ron Archer coming to you from the world headquarters of Archer Travel here in Los Angeles, California. Yet another segment of the Ron and Reggie podcast. Today we are going to talk about running your own home-based business, and I brought in a couple of experts that I have known for many, many years. These are gentlemen that actually part of my men's group, my Bible study on Thursday mornings, and they actually own and run their own operating businesses. Mr. Greg Cook, who comes from the advertising world for many, many years, selling radio, television, online streaming, mainly. And also has gotten now into the real estate business. Mm-hmm. And then Mr. Bob Knopf, who took over and ran a family insurance business that he started working at about the same time I started working here at Archer Travel. Very similar stories on that. I thought that might be kind of interesting. And of course, you all know Mr. Reggie Rivas, who in his own right built a very powerful soccer club to 650, 700 kids in the program?
1,200, but close.
1,200. Oh, sorry. I was diminishing him. I apologize. But yeah, very successful, all of these gentlemen on their own right. And I wanted to pick their brain and have Reggie, come in with his questions on how we could give you some tidbits on positive ways that you could address and help run your own home-based business.
Awesome. Thank you for having us, Ron.
Well, I have you every day.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. He travels a lot. But thanks, guys, for joining us. Appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
So, Bob, let me start with you. Since you and I started about the same time in a family business, how many people were in your insurance agency when you started with your parents?
I started with my dad, and there was 5 people, 6 people total, including my father and my brother.
And in Archer Travel, I was number 5, including my parents and my brother.
Very similar.
Very similar situation. And when you left, you guys had a very large operation and part of a much greater insurance consortium.
Yeah, we actually sold the business a few years ago, and at that point we had 25 employees, and including salespeople and administrative staff, and it turned out to be a great business.
And did you retire?
I did not retire. I am. It's been 5 years now, and I'm working. I'm about half time now, and loving it, and enjoying the lower stress levels, but loved running my own business. It was great for many, many years.
So real quick, how did you actually get into was that something that you planned?
I did not plan. I actually, out of college, I went to work for a bank for 4 years and thought I would be there for a career. And my brother asked me to visit and spend a week with him in the insurance business. And I did it, and the rest is history.
Wow.
I decided that was a good way to go, and it's been wonderful. Greg,
how on earth did you get into advertising?
I don't know. I'm still waiting for someone to tell me what the good way to go is. So I grew up in Boston. After college, came out here for Hollywood, and was knocking doors selling cable television subscriptions back in the 80s. And
knocking on doors, literally.
Literally knocking on doors at night. I was that guy when you're ready to have dinner, and I'd have reason to knock on the door. It was you pretty much because you're a non-subscriber. And just wanted to ask if you'd like to have cable television. At any rate, the general management of the system knew I was out there for Hollywood initially, and they said, "Hey, would you like to do a promo with our local origination production department that we're going to run looking for sales reps?" I said, "Sure." So as I did that commercial, it was a lot of fun to do. And then I was talking to the producer, who ended up being a good friend for many years now, and I had said, "So tell me about this advertising thing." And they go, "Oh, yeah, we actually have an opening right now." And so I transitioned into it's the mailroom story for sure. I was the classified channel advertising rep going to businesses. It's still frame photography that they promoted on a channel. This is way before digital or anything like that. But that's how I got into it.
Okay. Well, wait a second. You said something. So you were knocking on doors in Hollywood.
No, it was in the San Gabriel Valley.
Oh, okay, but in Southern
LA.
California.
Yeah.
And you were born and raised and went to college in
Boston.
Boston.
Amherst, UMass Amherst.
Okay, and what brought you to Los Angeles?
Hollywood.
To do?
Acting?
You were going to be a star.
He is
Isn't
a
that
star.
what this is supposed to make me?
This is it right here.
You are
He's-
now a star.
Yeah.
It's only taken you, 40 years?
40 years the end of next year, right? Nope, it's all good. It came out here between semesters during college, and it was seduced by Southern California. I go, so you mean you can go to the beach and ski the same day?
Yep.
And by the way, you have all these studios out here, and I acted in high school, but didn't do it in college. But I was like, no, I want in, and so when I wanted to come out here right then, but through the grace of God, it was like, nope, you need to finish your degree, and then you can do whatever you want, but you got to finish the degree. And so I finished college, and I came back out here just to retest. Was it as cool as I thought it was? And largely it was. I said, I'm going to come out here for 2 years. And in 2 years, I'm either going to make it or I'm going back. And it was 2 years before I even found my place in L.A.
So let me tie this together a little bit. So you guys both came out of school, looking for jobs, trying to make some money. I thought you had a career path, whatever the case is. And then all of a sudden, something came up and you took advantage of it.
Yeah.
Much like the 23,000 agents that have gotten into this program that we run, this home-based travel business, that we're all probably doing something in life going, yeah, I'd like to maybe try something a little different or make a little extra money on the side, or God, I love travel, or any number of things that will induce you into getting into this program. So what I want to go to now with Reggie's help is, what can we tell them that will help them in their journey to go to that next step? Because we all have 40 years of experience doing this, where we have grown it from very, very small to very successful. So, and we hope that for everyone. What knowledge, what can we say, what can we give them in terms of ideas to get them to be successful? And success is different for different people. We always say that if you can make $500, that'll change that'll change your family situation. That's a car payment, or that's tuition for your kids, or whatever the case is. Some people, it's like, no, I want to travel the world and I want to make a lot of money. So success is different for different people, but there are some key components that I think really pretty much are inclusive in all of that. So how did you find clients? What did you knocked on doors. That had to be pretty trying.
Oh, how much time do you have? I would sit in traffic for an hour just to get to my territory. And then as people are coming home from work, I get to be the guy that says, hey, can I get some information on you and sign you up for cable and da-da-da-da-da? And, I mean, after a while you become efficient at it, but it wasn't my...
So how did you deal with rejection?
Thick skin, I guess, right? I mean, there's a high that comes when yes, I went on a ton of auditions to get one part, right? But when you booked a job, you're like, this is why I do this, because the high is there. And so you'd hear no, no, no when you're knocking on doors until somebody says, tell me more. Or,
yeah, but when you get a lot
shot.
of no's, when you get enough no's, you finally go, screw this.
Well, so that's a great point. And I would say you have to have one thing to make it worthwhile, and you got to have a passion for it. If it's not in the heart and it's not easy, you're probably going to die on the vine. But if it's something that really interests you, that you want to know more about, that you want to do, that's normally the drive that pushes you through the tough times.
Okay. So, Bob, and
yes, Ron.
I'll get to you in a minute, Reg.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
So you shadowed your brother for a week, and then I'm sure that you came into the family business and they sat you down and they trained you and they said, here's how insurance works, and we're going to put you through this extensive training program and go out and get customers, right?
You know, you would think so. When I worked at the bank, they had a very formal training program. And I came to work at Knopf Insurance Agency, and I was given the yellow pages and said, I got some insurance technical training for like 5 or 6 weeks. And then it was like, oh, okay, now it's time to sell. And it was like, here's the yellow pages, start making phone calls.
Here's your lead generator.
Yeah. Yeah, there was
Yellow pages.
There was no, okay, for those young ones, you may not know what yellow pages are.
Yeah, they might not know.
In the old days when there was a antenna on top of your house to get TV before cable TV, these were, and they also had at that time yellow pages that was handed out to everybody up and down the street. And there was white pages with it so you could look up somebody else's phone number or look up a business. But anyway.
Wait. And when you made a sales call, you had what to drive and look at?
I had a
Thomas guide.
Thomas guide.
The Thomas guide.
Yes.
Remember those days?
Yeah. Those aren't around either. Now it's,
It's all
Google
on your
Maps.
Google Maps.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was just make phone calls and a lot of rejection, and a few people said, okay, I'd like to talk to you. And the one thing that was ingrained into me by my old school father was just take care of the client. Don't worry about how much you're making on somebody. Mm-hmm. If you take care of your client and do a good job, then they will come back and stay with you, as they, in my instance, buy insurance over the years. In yours, it would be come back to you for repeat travel and hopefully maybe send a friend your way as well.
Okay, so how did you deal with rejection? You know, how successful were you in the beginning, and how did you deal with the rejection?
My basic personality is not a overt extrovert personality. I'm more of an introvert, and so I had a difficult time with rejection. I didn't like it. It bothered me. I thought I took it personally, and the more I did it, it taught me that that's just part of the process and part of the sales game, you could say.
So, Mr. Rivas,
Yeah.
you're coming out of college,
Yes.
and you were working at Costco,
I was working at Costco. Yeah.
and all of a sudden one day you decide, I'm going to build me a world-class soccer club.
Oh, I wish it was that easy. No.
So
Listen,
how did you get I knew you coach. I mean, you were an All-American in college.
I played soccer. I was able to have my college paid for because of the sport. So I was very fortunate.
Okay.
But no, I was no desire into coaching. Thought I would go into law school. So I was going to Cal State Northridge, history major, going to go into law school, working at Costco to pay my bills, and then a gentleman at 4 a.m. we were doing the stocking, and I happened to be in the sporting goods section. It happened to be soccer season, and his name was Billy, and he said, "Hey kid, put this away," and he rolled the soccer ball down the aisle of Costco at 4:30 in the morning. I picked it up and juggled it, put it back in the box. He drove the forklift back over. He goes, "What was that, kid?" I said, "Well, it's just juggling. In my world, everyone can do it." Well, he had a daughter who said, "You need to teach her how to do that." And I said, "No, I'm not interested." And for about 6 months, he
wore you down?
He wore me down. Yeah. And then one night I was in class because I was taking night classes at Northridge, and one of my friends sitting next to me, he says, "Yeah, I'm coaching basketball this coming year." And I said, "Oh, good for you, high school basketball." And he goes, "Oh, but they're looking for a soccer coach." Oh, wow. I said, "Good luck finding one," because I was, and sure enough, I went for the job interview, and the guy says, we're going to coach like this book. And the guy who wrote the book was a friend of mine. And I said, I thought it was a joke at first. And I turned to the coach, I go, "We're not doing this." I go, "Who put you up to this?" He's like, "You know the author?" And I go, "Yeah, he's a good friend. You want to meet him?" Oh, wow. Not knowing that my world was a little different than, some people. So, because I was just very fortunate to keep playing soccer at a high level. So I got to meet some really well-known coaches. So I came back to Costco and I said, "I'm not coaching." And then I got a phone call about a couple weeks later from a gentleman named Matt Bogus, who is probably the greatest salesman in the world. He can sell ice to Eskimos. And he said, "Hey, we're looking for a high school JV coach." at Crescenta Valley High School. I said, what's that? Where's Crescenta Valley? Never heard of it in my life. He goes, it's on the 210 freeway. I go, where's the 210 freeway? And I drove my 1970 Carmagia to the field.
Yeah.
And the field was probably the worst field in America. It had a dome-shaped crown, like traditional 90s football soccer fields. And I said, oh, no way, we're not playing on this. And I told him, no, I'm not interested. I watched their practice, and it wasn't, the greatest thing in the world on this terrible field. And I said, I'm not interested, but thank you guys, appreciate it. And then one of the players came up and says, are you going to be my coach? And I turned to her, and I didn't know what to say, and I said, yes, I am.
Oh, wow.
And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I was at. Yeah. So
if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't be here today.
Exactly.
No, I'm serious. Yeah. I'm serious. So through his coaching at Crescenta Valley High School, he coached a daughter of a friend of ours, Jeff Stumbaugh.
Yep.
And Jeff's wife
was my team manager and sat on my board of directors.
And say, you got to meet this girl. I want to set you up with dating this girl, who had happened to be Julie Archer, who is my brother's daughter. Yeah. And they ended up dating and getting married, and the rest is history.
Rest is history.
So they say.
Yeah. No, it was. But I think Greg hit on the head. It was passion.
Yeah.
My question to you guys, because we've all had that moment of the challenge of, should I do this? Do you remember that moment of you're on the ledge of, am I going to run this company? Am I going to go do another path? Because I remember my time, it's like, am I going to run this soccer club? Is this going to be my passion? Is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Or am I going to go another path? Do you guys remember any of those moments? Do you remember any time? Love to hear your story, Greg.
I was scared to death for 5-6 years, right? I was ready to break out on my own. When I came to, this last firm I was an employee of for a rep firm, advertising, and thought, I want to go out and take my own shots. Yeah. But walking away from a sure thing paycheck was really scary.
Yeah, I remember
it was
that.
scary.
Yeah.
And so I didn't for a few years. I just, stayed the course, was competitive and aggressive, and was fortunate in such with business and did well in that. So that worked out well. But then the company lost their contract that they were representing these other cable systems. And so we were being let go.
Yeah.
We knew the party's going to be over in a few months. And so then it's like, all right, so what's next? And my wife and I were talking about what's next. I could go get another job in advertising, or I've got relationships that I've developed over years that we could break out and do my own firm. And we were looking at remodeling a kitchen for like the 7 years we had already lived in the house. And I said, if I take the job with the advertising firm, the cable firm, your kitchen's going to get put on hold for several years again, because I'm just not going to have the time. But if I do my own thing, might be able to do this sooner. She's like, do your own thing. And I was like, all right, it's a little scary. Had to rob Peter to pay Paul. Yeah. Took in a withdrawal from the 401k in order to finance this and that, and et cetera. But you're hungry, right? You're like, because now you're out there in the deep end and you sink or swim, and based on what you do. But the passion is there, and you're like, and fortunately, I was blessed with some good relationships. Without those relationships, right, I was dead in the water. Yeah. But because of those relationships, I just had to do what I already had been doing and nurture those things, take care of the client, right? And it developed from there, from an advertising perspective.
Did you go through a scary period, going, "Oh my goodness, I don't know if I should have done this"?
No,
you did not.
No, I went through a scary period, because there's no sure thing paycheck, but I had the confidence in my relationships that I'd be in my abilities based on years of experience, right? It wasn't just a blind knee jerk, but that I was going to go out there to do this. So I was scared, but it wasn't questioning whether I'm doing the right thing.
So if somebody's new to this industry, the travel industry, and they don't have that experience, what can they fall back on and go, I'm going to do this? Well,
I mean, I was a little later in life. I was in my mid-late 40s, I think, when this happened. And I'm like, all right, so, I hadn't been a complete idiot my entire life. I made a couple good decisions along the way. So we had a little bit of reserves to back up, because,
okay,
you might not have a paycheck.
You had a cushion.
Had a little bit of a cushion to go on for a little bit. But pretty quickly you saw the results of your efforts for in advertising, like, okay, this is good. How can I make it better? How can I make it more efficient? So never really question the decision to do it. But yes, you want to have a game plan. You want to have a passion, but you also want to have a game plan. So, so you don't end up dried up on the beach, in short order.
Mr. Knopf?
Yes, I'm a more, as I said, conservative person. And so to change jobs from something that I know and my wife's happy where we're living. I was married shortly before I made a decision to move. So we got married, and within a year we decided to move locations from Northern California to Southern California and go into a new business and come to an area where we didn't really have any friends. I had some long-standing friends because I grew up in the area, but my wife's leaving all of her friends, and it was a big decision, and it was going into a commission position. So you eat what you kill.
The hunter's mentality.
The hunter's mentality, and so
wait. What happens if you don't kill?